watching a special edition of New Kids on the Block, where along with the kids from various universities, our special guest taking questions is Union Minister Jitendra Singh. Now, it is a very special time to speak with the Union Minister, not only because he handles key areas like he's from Jammu and Kashmir and he's also in charge of the Northeast and of course the Prime Minister's office, but also because he has a new responsibility, that is of handling the Gujarat elections. Thank you so much, sir, first of all, for taking questions from me and all the students over here about various policies. I just wanted to start, sir, by talking to you before the students get started with their questions. A very significant judgment has now come, which is to do with an organization which is autonomous, sir, but you're also in charge of it, the CBI. One of the things that the High Court, a family, a couple, the Talwars, have spent almost a decade trying to fight the criminal justice system. After a decade and after 4 years in jail, sir, High Court has said there is not enough evidence, whereas CBI was asking for the death sentence for them, sir. Why does this go on happening, sir, that after so many years, no conviction?
No, at the outset, I have to thank you for having got me with these kids. It's always a very pleasant experience because there's lot much to learn from them, particularly when India of 2017 belongs to youth. More than 70% of the population comprises of them, so we are in the minority and we have to learn from them and we have to be led by them. Having said that, incidentally, you have put a question which is also related to a kid. Strictly speaking and very honestly speaking, I don't think I am competent to sit on the judgment on a judgment. Because this is an issue related to jurisprudence, and therefore it would not be appropriate for me to actually make a comment on that. But I am sure this is one case which will go down in the history for not many of us to discuss, to research, and might have diverse facets, including a huge social and a cultural angle as well.
Very, very significant, and I see that you're avoiding that bit. But sir, don't you think that there needs to be a relook at the way CBI functions?
No, strictly speaking, I don't think I should be commenting on that. It will be rather out of turn for me to say so, because this is something related to the verdict by a very honorable court, and an investigation conducted by an agency which is by all means an independent agency.
Okay.
But certainly, I agree with you, this is a subject which would attract and incite discussion for a long time to come.
Okay, let's talk about Gujarat now. Gujarat elections have become very, very interesting now, sir, because of the fact that, you know, young people are here over here, and I don't know how active you are on social media, but young people are very active on social media. BJP has done well across the country, but just before the Gujarat elections, sir, various social media, and you all used to be expert in social media, the Congress is suddenly having some social media campaign which seemed to have become very popular. Vikas has gone crazy.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, and I don't know how many of these kids actually follow.
Have you all followed it? Not that much in Delhi, yeah.
And I don't know how many of them actually follow me, these kids, but I'm sure at the end of this show, they'll bother to open up their accounts and add to my followers.
Yeah.
And then so that we can be mutually in touch with each other. And as I said, also I get to learn from you. Having said that, as far as the Congress party is concerned, you're right. We in BJP and this organization have always been one step ahead as far as media is concerned, and this has been there.
Social media, yeah.
Social media and otherwise too in the media, in the sense that even when the social media did not exist nearly about 2 decades ago, we were the first who experimented with the video cassettes in an election campaign when we had the JNTV. The Dr. Jain, who was handling the JNTV, was one of our senior office bearers.
Wow.
So we were always one step ahead. Then we were also having
2014 was all about Facebook.
Yes, and then of course, then we had a media cell which was much more equipped and much more institutionalized. Before other parties actually emulated, we had a national team of spokespersons, of which for a while I was a part of it. And then of course, as you said, the social media was always way ahead, and I think the single most important credit goes to Shri Narendra Modi for having led the way, because he's always one step ahead of all of us. But yes, now interestingly, in the last 2 months or so, Congress also has taken up the cue. But I think they have still a long way to go. Like, for example, I'll just give you a small instance about this bullet train thing. There are a lot of crazy,
memes and all of that
about the bullet train. Why bullet train when you have accidents around? So I said, you can't simply because you have an accident or odd does not mean that you shut down the factory of a motor car. So that's a different issue. This is a different issue, and that too, bullet train. For example, this one, which is going to be launched at the first phase, will cover a journey of cover the journey between Mumbai and Ahmedabad within just about 2 hours. This is going to be a game changer and revolution for the whole nation. The kind of revenue and a business it generates on road, and it's virtually being free of cost, which Japan is putting it across at just about 0.1. So what I said when there's lot of criticism against this bullet train, why Modi ji bringing it all. So I politely said, then all your arguments are exhausted. Then I have one argument for you, which you can put it on the social media. You can then say why Modi ji did not make the bullet train bulletproof to keep away the terrorist attacks. So we are always one step ahead.
But has Vikas gone crazy?
I think this is for the viewers to decide, because the social media is very unsparing. It doesn't spare you when even you deserve to be spared. And if you yourself make yourself vulnerable to be not to be spared, then you had it.
So that means you're acknowledging actually that the success of that campaign shows there might be a few problems over there. And recently, sir, the Dalits over there also have a Mr. Mustache, Mr. Dalit campaign, where they have a mustache campaign.
What happens is, on the eve of an election, all these things happen. They've been happening for the last 70 years. The means change. Earlier on, they happened through pamphlets, through posters, through those hand speakers which they carried in Gali Mohallas on a Tonga. Now they have graduated to a different medium of communication through the social media. So these things happen. But what is the difference between now and about half a century ago is that the voter today is much more enlightened. Right. It's not, apparently it seems that I make a lot of noise and maybe you get impressed, but it's not so. Because these are the kids who would not be convinced even by their parents. Now ask this girl, if the mother says, "Tu late क्यों आई?" तो पूछती है, "मम्मी तू पूछ के जाती है क्या जब जाती है?" I mean, either you convince me or I convince you. So this is our asset, and they vote en masse, 100%. बूढ़े बेईमान हो सकते हैं, ये बहुत ईमानदार है, because they are still to get into that phase of learning all the tricks of the world. So these children are much more awakened. They can't be misled easily, whatever the means.
Because you're giving, you're saying that they are very intelligent. Do you think the facts, sir, the numbers, and after that I'll let them ask questions, the fact that numbers at the GDP, the numbers have fallen, the fact that job figures have fallen, manufacturing figures are a problem. The government has said, the finance minister has said that that's because of teething problems and things like that. But there are problems. Because of all this, the smart young people, which is the majority of the polity now, that you might have a problem in Gujarat?
No, certainly not.
Why?
It'll all depend on how well we put it across, and certainly what you are saying is actually only half the truth. And as was very nicely put the other day by the Prime Minister himself, now this quarterly business of calculating figures and statistics keeps happening. Incidentally, the demonetization happened and the GST happened, but you can't say for sure that the quarterly this fall would not have happened otherwise. I don't mean that it's not exactly related to this, but at the same time I have the benefit of doubt to say that it might have happened even otherwise. So the process of economic arithmetic is not as simple as it appears to be. But yes, when we are into an election phase, every political party is entitled.
So will it have an impact, sir? No.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. And I tell you, as it's already been predicted, it's going to show a rise, and this is going to be overcome.
In a way,
and that's why I said the youngsters understand this better, and gradually this information or misinformation which is being sought to be perpetuated is going to get crystallized.